All right, sports fans have a real special treat here today. An actual Harlem Globetrotter with us, Max Pearce. Max, how's it going?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Of course, you've always been a longtime friend of the show and to
Right.
myself as well. And I'm so proud of you and so happy to see everything that you're doing in the world today. And again, most people I think on socials know you, of course, from dunking a basketball, but I think that your new career has taken you to a lot of different places and new heights. Tell us a little bit
For
about what
sure.
it's like to be a Harlem Globetrotter.
Oh my goodness. I don't even know where to start. I mean, prior to playing for the Globetrotters, I had done maybe a little bit of traveling, but even the total amount of traveling that I did, it wasn't at the frequency that I am now. So I think that in itself was quite an adjustment for me. Um, I remember at one point I went from Las Vegas to Moscow to Latvia to Norway to Miami back to New York consecutively. And I got bronchitis from the different air qualities from being in such different locations. And so, yeah, just the adjustment to the traveling and then the different kind of treatment and, just the ability to really reach people in a way that I wasn't able to before. That's probably my favorite thing about it.
Now, the Globetrotters, of course, known for entertaining people near and far and the youth and communities. But I think the message for the Globetrotters, of course, goes well beyond basketball.
Yeah. One of our aliases is Ambassadors of Goodwill. And I think that it's really cool and unique to the Globetrotters because no matter where we play, whether it's in Berlin or Australia or right here in the US, we get that same reception from the people that watch us. So that smile is the one common thing, regardless of whatever language is being spoken in that country. And so I think that having the ability to bring those smiles, regardless of what the people are going through outside of that game, is really special for us.
You've been able to accomplish other things too away from basketball. I know you're using the profile of being a basketball star kind of to carry over, but you have a non for profit organization. And I was
Right.
hoping that you could tell the people here in the Bronx what that's all
For
about.
sure. So the name of it is called the Flynance Organization. And basically, what we look to do is prepare student athletes for the transition out of their athletic career and into the next phase of life. So whether that's another job or transitioning from being an athlete to the corporate side of their sport. There's so many different nuances within that transition. But the fact of the matter is, it's really plaguing the athletic community because there are so many athletes that get to the end of their sport and they're like stuck. They're like, okay, I don't know what to do now. So that's what we're aiming to do is basically to just prepare them for that moment so that they're ready.
Max, I would love to get your perspective too, because as a young black star in the world today, I think the question, especially from those that are trying to kind of get involved with the conversation and the dialogue, is what is it like to be a young African American male, and what does someone have to do that might not understand the conversation in order to affect
Right.
change?
Yeah, first of all, I really appreciate this question. I guess the first step for true change is for white people to just be open minded and listen with the intent of understanding. I think a lot of the times there are good hearted people out there that want to listen, but the second that they hear the term white privilege, they lock up and get defensive because they associate white privilege with having bad moral character, and that's not the case. White privilege just comes from being born as a white person in America, and you're reaping the benefits of the systematically biased structure that we have. And so, if people could take the time to understand that and understand how it affects Black people, then I think it would allow us to get into the minds of people who are um, not as coherent and
Educated.
acknowledge, yeah, educated on what is going on right now. So I mean, there's so many layers to it, and it can be really difficult to unpack. But for starters, self-education is what needs to happen, for Black people and for white people.
Of course. I would say the more things change, the more things stay the same. To look
Right.
at some of these icons more recently this past week, someone like Bill Russell or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to have to continue to come out.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about decades after the
Yeah.
protests
Yeah.
in the 60s. And a lot of the subject matter that went on decades ago is still happening now. And maybe there's, to some degree, you can make an argument, Max, that maybe there's been no change
Yeah.
in decades
For
that have
sure.
that have happened since. Because when you look at a pro athlete like Torrey Hunter to come out on social media this week and say, from my rookie year to my final year in the major leagues, when I went to places like Boston, they used the N word. And I
Yeah.
think what's even more crazy in terms of a conversation is that he's going to go and say that it wasn't just the adults that were using the word, it was children too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's remarkable.
Yeah. And that's certainly something that's still prominent today. I went live on my Instagram about 3.5 weeks ago, and I was called the N word like 20 times in a row, and I just had to act like I didn't see it and just remove that person from the live while continuing to speak about what I wanted to speak about. And then, just scrolling on Twitter, I see videos of altercations between a Black person and a white person, and the white person gets so upset that they feel like the only way that they can take a deep dig or a deep stab at that Black person is to use that ultimate triggering word, which is the N word. And it just shows your true colors. So it's very difficult to deal with.
Max, I mean, it's incredible too that the climate is like that still, like I said, currently today. And unfortunate because, you look at someone like yourself, not just doing big things in terms of athletics, but trying to do the right thing by people. And I think that should be what the message is, regardless of
Right.
color, sex, no matter who you are, where you're from. It should be about trying to have impact on people. It hasn't just been about athletics. I think that your message of trying to help communities and help other people is really what this is all about.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate that acknowledgement. Um, it's I think the other challenge with this society right now is that there are good people out there who are just products of this society. And sometimes being a product of the society, especially for white people, if you, again, are uneducated, you're just doing what you were taught. And so the challenge for a lot of us is for in the case like maybe Drew Brees, like there have been there have been so many people vouching for his character, and I think that his comments on Colin Kaepernick and kneeling for the flag are in a lot of ways inconsiderate. But I don't know that I would say Drew Brees is necessarily a bad person just for that. And so that's where it kind of dices everything up because it's very hard to separate someone of good character with the horrific teachings of this 400 years worth of systemic racism.
Max, you might be young, but you are well beyond your years, my man. You are very much a
Thank
Harlem Globetrotter, a Globetrotter, and I'm so happy again, so proud of you that you're out there spreading the message of peace and love to people because that's what we should all be doing right now.
you. Yeah.
Thanks for
Thanks,
taking
man.
the time with us today.
Thank you guys so much.
Appreciate you, man.